Two boys, no names, no school, no friends, no trace. They live inside a fortified compound, sealed off from the outside world. They travel by armored train, swept for devices, moving through the night so no one sees them arrive, and their own mother, one of the most famous women in Russia, can only see them through bulletproof glass. Because one photo of her with those boys would bring down a secret Putin has spent years and billions of rubles hiding. Vladimir Putin officially has two daughters. That is the story the Kremlin has told for decades. But according to investigative journalists and intelligence researchers, there is another story, one that has never been confirmed, never been denied, and never gone away. Putin allegedly has two secret sons, hidden from the public, hidden from history, hidden, even, from the world their father controls. This is their story. And to find out more, let's dive into Empire Elegance. For decades, the Kremlin has maintained a carefully constructed image of Vladimir Putin as a statesman above personal scandal. Officially, Putin has two daughters, Maria and Katerina, from his marriage to Lyudmila Shkrebneva, a marriage that ended in a very public, very brief televised announcement in 2013. The divorce was framed as mutual, civilized, and unremarkable. 2 minutes on camera. No drama, no explanation, just the quiet erasure of a 20-year marriage. Putin has never, in any official capacity, confirmed a romantic relationship since. He has spoken of his daughters with rare warmth in interviews, though even they have been shielded from public life to an unusual degree for the children of a head of state. Maria and Katerina don't give interviews. They don't appear at state functions. They live carefully obscured lives. A deliberate choice. The Kremlin has always insisted to protect them from the pressures of their father's position. But the official story, as is so often the case with the Kremlin, is only part of the picture. Because running parallel to that official narrative, for well over a decade, investigative journalists, intelligence analysts, and opposition researchers have been piecing together a very different story. One involving Russia's female athlete, a relationship that may have begun as early as 2008, and two boys whose existence changes everything we think we know about the private life of Vladimir Putin. Born in Tashkent in 1983, Alina Kabeva became the greatest rhythmic gymnast in history. She won Olympic gold in Athens in 2004, was a two-time world champion, and collected European championship titles, like most people collect loyalty points. She was known for a flexibility so extreme that commentators genuinely struggled to find language for it. Watching her compete was less like watching sport, and more like watching something that shouldn't be physically possible. She was, by any measure, a superstar. The kind of athlete whose face ends up on cereal boxes, whose name becomes shorthand for excellence. She was also strikingly beautiful, and in Russia, enormously famous. In 2007, she transitioned into politics, winning a seat in the State Duma as a member of Putin's United Russia Party. She was 24 years old. And in 2008, an Italian newspaper published that Putin and Kabayeva were in a relationship. The story was largely buried in Russia, where state media had little appetite for publishing anything that embarrassed the president. Over the following years, Kabayeva's proximity to power only grew. She became chairwoman of the board of the National Media Group, a conglomerate that controls significant chunks of Russian television, including major national channels, a role that placed her at the very heart of Kremlin's information ecosystem. Her salary, her influence, her access, all of it pointed toward a relationship that officially did not exist. And then came the reports of pregnancies. The first serious claims were that Kabayeva had given birth to Putin's child. The reports were difficult to verify, but the details were striking. The first son, born in 2016, was said to have been delivered in Switzerland, far from Moscow, far from Russian cameras, in a country with some of the world's most ironclad privacy protections. The second child followed within a few years. Both births, according to these accounts, were conducted under conditions of extraordinary secrecy. No public hospital records, no birth announcements, no leaked photos from proud grandparents, nothing. What made these reports more than gossip was the infrastructure reportedly built around them. According to multiple sources, the boys are not raised in any ordinary home. They live in a secure compound, a fortified estate with its own security, its own protocols, its own sealed world. They are reportedly homeschooled. They do not attend public events. Their identities are not registered in any accessible way. But the detail that stops people cold, the one that has circulated most widely, and that journalists have returned to again and again, is this. Alina Kabayeva reportedly sees her own children through bulletproof glass. Not because she is a prisoner, not because she is in danger, but because the security protocol around these boys is so total, so obsessive, that any visible connection between Kabayeva and the children, any photograph, any credible witness account placing them together in an identifiable location, could confirm what the Kremlin has denied for years. She cannot be seen as their mother in public. She travels separately, arrives separately, and when she is near them, barriers ensure that no face is fully visible. It is one of the loneliest arrangements imaginable. A mother, separated from her children, not by distance, but by the political mathematics of a man who cannot afford to have a human life. The logistics of hiding two children in modern Russia, a country saturated with surveillance, with informants, with competing intelligence services, are staggering. And yet, investigative journalists who have tracked Putin's movements have noted something unusual in the patterns. Putin is known to prefer train travel for certain journeys within Russia, partly for security reasons. Trains are harder to intercept than aircraft, easier to sweep for tracking devices, and far harder to monitor from the outside. His personal armored train is well documented. What is less well known is what else, or who else, it reportedly carries. According to researchers, the boys have reportedly been transported via armored rail when relocated between compounds. No commercial flights with their passenger manifests, and CTV line terminals. Just sealed carriages, moving quietly through the Russian night, arriving before dawn, departing before the city wakes. It sounds extraordinary, but two children whose existence, if confirmed, would be one of the biggest political stories in the world, traveling by any normal means, visible to any driver, any airport worker, any curious phone camera pointed in the wrong direction at the wrong moment. From the Kremlin's perspective, the train makes perfect sense. Then, in August 2025, photos surfaced online, showing a young boy, around 9 or 10 years old, in circumstances that investigators and online sleuths quickly began examining with forensic intensity. The images were not accompanied by official confirmation of any kind. The Kremlin did not comment. Russian state media ignored them entirely, a silence that was deafening. But the photographs circulated rapidly. Telegram channels, through international social media, and through the networks of journalists who had been tracking this story for years. Facial analysis, background details, clothing, and contextual clues were all scrutinized and cross-referenced against existing accounts. The consensus among those who had spent the most time on this story was striking. This was consistent with what they had been told about the eldest son. The age matched, the setting matched, the careful avoidance of any identifying adult figure in the frame matched. No Russian official confirmed it. No Russian official denied it either, which, in Kremlin communication terms, is itself a kind of statement. Full-throated denials tend to come fast and loud when the Kremlin is confident. Silence, carefully maintained, tends to come when the ground is less sure. The photos have not been definitively authenticated, but they added fuel to a story that was already burning quietly for a decade, and they reminded the world that secrets this large have a way of finding the light. Why does this matter? Leaders have had affairs before. Children born outside marriage are not, in most of the world, a political death sentence. But Russia is not most of the world, and Putin is not most leaders. The concealment of these children tells us something profound about how power actually operates in Russia today. It reveals the extraordinary lengths to which the Kremlin will go to maintain a specific image of Putin: disciplined, restrained, monastic in his dedication to the state. A man who belongs to Russia rather than to any woman, any family, any ordinary human need. That image is not incidental. It is load-bearing. It is part of what justifies, in the Kremlin's framing, his grip on power. The idea that Putin himself is above appetite, above weakness, above the petty desires that compromise lesser men. Two secret sons shatter that image completely. It also reveals the cost borne by everyone around him, including the mother of his children, a woman who won Olympic gold, who was adored by millions, and who is now unable to be photographed standing next to her own sons. Whatever her choices, whatever the nature of her relationship with the most powerful man in Russia, the arrangement she lives within is one that most people would find incomprehensible. And it raises a harder, broader question: if a man will build this architecture of concealment around two children, armored trains, bulletproof glass, Swiss hospitals, ghost identities, what else is being hidden? What other infrastructure of secrecy exists behind the official facade of one of the world's most opaque governments? The answer, almost certainly, is that we are only ever seeing the edges. The story of Putin's secret sons is, on one level, deeply personal. A story about a family forced to live in the shadows of extraordinary power. About children who may grow up never knowing a world beyond their fortress. And about a mother watching them through glass. But it is also, on another level, a window into the nature of that power itself, willing to bend every human relationship into the shape that serves it best. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Empire Elegance, and hit the notification bell for more powerful stories about the lives and legacies of the world's most influential families. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.